All right, this is the last countdown for 2024. Let's get to it. Hi everyone, I'm Sandy and welcome back to my channel. Today, as I said, I have 1001 book countdown for you, and it is the last one that I will do in 2024. If you've been following my channel for a while, you may know that my reading off of the 1001 list in 2024 did not go really according to plan, and I hope to kind of turn that around in 2025. We'll see how that goes. If you're not familiar with the 1001 book countdown, I will leave a card up here for you where you can go and check out the original video. But basically, I'm reading books off of the 1001 books you must read before you die list. I combined all editions of that list together, which gave me 1,300 books to read, 1,315 or 16 books. And I just started my channel a few years ago when I got close to around 1,000 books. If you look on my Goodreads, the numbers will be a little bit different of what I have left to read and what I've read. But it started right around 1,000 with the idea that I knew there'd be books I would be able to find and some rereads in there and hopefully kind of just work my way down to 0. It has been a passion project of mine that I've been working on for a number of years, and I do really like it, and I like reading from this list because every once in a while I find an absolute hidden gem in there that I just absolutely adore. So yeah, but what we'll go ahead and do is put up the numbers where I left off with my last one, which was 804. That's my main list of how many books I have left from the 1001 number that I started with, and 28. So 20 every year at the beginning of the year, I pre-select 52 books and try and focus on those to read throughout the year. Ideally trying to get that number down to 0. Now, as you can see, this number is 28, which means I didn't do so well this year. It's the worst year I've ever had. I think last year I ended with 1 left. I've never made it to 0. Maybe 2025 will be my year. We'll see. But I do have a great update for today. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the books and kind of go forward. And let's hope for a better reading year in 2025. All right. The first book is Anagrams by Lori Moore. This book was originally published in 1986. Lori Moore actually has 3 books on the 1001 book countdown. One was a little bit newer, published in 2007, which is one I've been really kind of interested to read. This book, though, yikes. It was tough. It was a very tough read. This was actually the book club pick, I believe, for November, maybe? Can't remember what month it was the book club pick for right off the top of my head. But it was so difficult for me. This book, Britta and I talked about it briefly. Britta Bowler, if you're not familiar with her, I'll leave her channel linked in the description below. She and I co-host the 1001 Book Club, and we both just really struggled with this. In a lot of ways, I felt like I was not smart enough to understand this book. The word anagram, I had to look it up. I'll read it. A word or phrase or name formed by rearranging the letters of another. So if you take the word cinema and reform or rearrange letters, you could spell Iceman, something like that. And I think that was kind of the intent of all the 7 stories that are in this book. So this is comprised of short stories, which is not my favorite. And it kind of goes through, it kind of feels like it's going through the same thing slightly differently, but it was just such a hard read for me. I struggled with this book so much. I was so disappointed in it. I'm kind of disappointed as myself as a reader as well, because I just could not figure out what this book was about. It does have 2 main characters, Bennett and Gerard, that feature throughout the book. Sometimes someone's in a bathtub. I'm not really sure what that's about. But it was definitely a struggle for me. Not one of my favorite books for sure. But this book was on my 2025 list, and I'm out of practice. With this book, we go from 804 to 803, and it was on my 2024 list, so we get to go from 28 down to 27. All right, the next book was a bit more successful. I ended up actually giving this 4 stars on Goodreads, and that is Howard's End by E.M. Forster. E.M. Forster actually has 4 books on the 1001 book countdown, and I have now read all of them. I have no more E.M. Forster to read for the countdown. There's one more book I own, which is Morris, but it's not actually on the 1001 book countdown. So yeah, this will be the end of my E.M. Forster on the countdown. That's pretty impressive, actually. The other ones, I'm trying to remember, Room with a View, Passage to India, and Where Angels Fear to Tread, I believe, were the other 3. Don't quote me on those titles because I could be slightly wrong. This book was This book was originally published in 1910. It largely features three different families, the Wilcoxes, the Schlegels, and a young man named Lawrence Bast, B-A-S-T. And it's really one giant soap opera, and they are in and out of each other's lives kind of all throughout the book. Different people in the Wilcox family kind of come in and come out. It starts with one of the sisters on the Schlegel side visiting Howard's End and falling in love with the place, and he was convinced that she's going to marry one of the Wilcoxes that lives there. And, things kind of fall apart. She ends up coming back home. There's a whole bunch of drama. They somehow end up meeting the mother of the family, the Wilcox side, through just kind of happenstance of where they live in the city that they live in. It's just an interesting, fascinating kind of just, in and out story. People are supposed to get married. People don't get married. People do end up getting married that you didn't think would get married in the beginning. I don't know, but I did like it. I felt like it was a roller coaster ride of a story and was much more dramatic than others as far as interpersonal relationships or romantic relationships, really, in this particular book. A Passage to India had drama in it, but it wasn't like romantic drama. This was soap opera drama. And there's just so many components of it that I thought were entertaining. Like I said, I did end up giving it 4 stars on Goodreads. It is right up at the top of the E.M. Forster books. I wouldn't say E.M. Forster is a favorite novelist, author of mine, but yeah, I did like this one quite a bit more than some of the other books. But with this book, we do get to go from 803 to 802, and it was on my 2024 list. So we get to go from 27 down to 26. And I have one more book for you. This is actually the book club pick for December for the 1001 Book Club. And it was Life and Death of Harriet Frayne by May Sinclair. You can see that this is a skinny little novel, and this is the only book that May Sinclair has on the 1001 book list. So one very short, brief introduction to this particular author with this book. It was originally published in 1922. And as you can imagine, it's so short that you don't get any kind of real in-depth picture of who she is. You get very small snippets at every stage of her life. And in some ways, it was the perfect amount because you kind of just got to get to know her through all the phases of her life. And in the other way, it wasn't deep enough because I wanted to learn more. I wanted to see more. I wanted to hear more about her experiences in life. Like the experience of her as a baby was quite literally 1 paragraph long. It was so incredibly short, and it just immediately went on from there. And so every relationship she has is again very, very short in this. I did like the writing though. I did find it to be entertaining to kind of go through. It surprisingly took me longer to read at 82 pages than I expected it to. And I'm not sure if that's because I was looking for more connection. I was looking for more. I just wanted more, and didn't quite get it. But I'm happy that I read it. I mean, I am glad, too, that we picked it for the book club. I think it would be an interesting one to discuss in detail. Hopefully next year for the book club that we have, maybe Britta and I can figure out a way to do some kind of Zoom calls where she and I can discuss the book live. Not live, but Zoom call and record it. Maybe. We'll see. But I think it would be an interesting one for a discussion. And yeah, that was just a skinny little book. Great way to end the year for the 1001 Book Club. And for my reading for the 1001 book countdown. But with this book, we do get to go from 802 to 801, and we go from 27 down to 26. And so, of course, let's talk about the bottom number for a minute. The bottom number at the end of the year ideally would be 0. I only read half of the books that I wanted to read in 2024, which makes sense because in June I got a new job, and I, ever since then, have had just a really hard time focusing and reading. The job took a lot of energy just to learn. And now that I've been here the 6 months, I'm feeling like I have a little bit more ability to kind of work in some other stuff. I've been reading a lot in December. It provides me a lot of hope going into 2025 that, maybe this will be a great year for me to read a lot more. Let's talk about the top number. 801. So that book, Life and Death of Harriet Frayne, was officially my 200th book that I have read off of the book countdown since starting my channel. That is unbelievable. I am so incredibly thrilled. I want to make this kind of progress. I think that's amazing. I hope that I can continue to see great progress. It's really hard to think that I'm only 20% of the way through the list, but I'm 20% of the way through the list. If you add on the other books, I'm significantly farther than that. But for the 1001 book countdown, I'm 20% of the way through, which is absolutely astounding. So what you will see coming up, as far as some videos go, you'll see the top 10 of the last 100, the bottom 10 of the last 100, a 100 book recap, and the next 1001 book countdown video will have a new color for the numbers. I switch that every 100, and I'm just super excited about the next 100 books. I think I have some great books selected for 2025. If you haven't seen that video, I would encourage you to go watch it because I have a little bit of a different way of selecting them this year, and I can't wait. I can't wait to read more books off of this. Like I said, I feel like I'm finally getting my reading mojo back, which is amazing. I really need to get that mojo back. So I hope you consider giving me a like, a comment, a subscribe, and sticking with me and seeing how far I make it through this massive project of mine. See what the next 100 looks like as well. I look forward to having you here, look forward to reading with you and sharing my experiences. So, but as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.